The Fermi Paradox. Part 20. Indistinguishable from magic. There is another, perhaps even simpler reason why we have not detected extraterrestrial intelligence. We have made it in our own image. If I might end this series on a personal note, I have often thought that the principal flaw of SETI is that it attempts to solve the problem of extraterrestrial intelligence from the top down, when science has always been more comfortable solving problems from the bottom up. By this I mean that science works best when decoding nature's rules, which are predictable and reproducible in mathematical models. The path of a cannonball, the interaction between warm and cold air, even gene frequencies in populations. All these science can comfortably master. At the other end of the scale lie concepts such as art, angst, and love, which science has always found more difficult to deconstruct. Noam Chomsky alluded to this in an interview with The New Scientist. Quote, "Take, say, physics, which restricts itself to extremely simple questions. If a molecule becomes too complex, they hand it over to the chemists. If it becomes too complex for them, they hand it to biologists. And if the system is too complex for them, they hand it to psychologists. And so on, until it ends up in the hands of historians or novelists." Unquote. Until we find a way to mathematically predict history or produce a quantifiably perfect novel, this level of human inquiry will always remain atmospheres above science's comfort zone. And yet it is at that level at which SETI expects science to work. You simply cannot second-guess the actions or intentions of a sentient race. Humanity has yet to learn from its own history. Can it expect to apply what it knows to a species that may be thousands of years more technologically advanced? To illustrate my point, I'd like to tell you of the people of Tanna. Tanna is an island in Vanuatu, a Pacific archipelago 1,100 miles east of Australia. For thousands of years, the Melanesian-speaking people who call it home practiced a combination of hunter-gathering and subsistence farming, along with their local customs, until European colonists arrived in the 19th century, and with them missionaries, who forbade the Tannese their customs and attempted to convert them to Christianity. The Tannese grudgingly agreed to this, in the hope that in return, the missionaries would share their seeming magical ability to produce an infinite supply of food, tools, and other goods, which the Tannese collectively called cargo, while appearing to do no actual work. Sometime in the 1930s, the elders of Tanna received a vision of a European figure named John Frum, who told them that if the Tannese abandoned the plantations, renounced European education and Christianity, and returned to the old ways, he would drive the Europeans away, leaving their cargo for them. The Tannese subsequently rejected European culture, spending all their money, emptying the schools, and retreating inland, where they could resume their old practices, despite repeated attempts to suppress them. When 300,000 American servicemen arrived in Tanna in 1942, the cult's power only increased. John Frum soon became an American, and told the elders that after the war he would return and bestow his cargo upon the Tannese. But of course, he didn't return, and what happened next has become part of popular myth. The Tannese attempted to woo John Frum and his cargo back by carving airstrips out of the jungle. Soon, cargo cults were appearing all over the Pacific, all apparently independent of each other. Some even constructed bamboo control towers and radios out of coconuts in an attempt to siphon the white man's magic. Most of the cargo cults eventually died out, but those on Tanna survive to this day. It is tempting to treat the cargo cults as a joke, a chance to sneer at the suggestibility and ignorance of savages. But the Tannese are no less intelligent than we are, and no less capable of reason. The cargo cults were simply their attempt to comprehend an alien culture thousands of years more advanced than they were, in light of their understanding of the universe. Almost any sci-fi fan can quote Arthur C. Clarke's third law. Any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. But the implications of that statement are not always fully appreciated. Technologically, the Tannese are where we were about 9,000 years ago, during the Neolithic Revolution, when farming had gradually begun to supplant hunter-gathering as our primary mode of subsistence. From our perspective, 9,000 years is a dizzying amount of time, enough to encompass all of written history with room to spare. But in cosmological terms, it's a coffee break. Literally. If the 12 billion year age of our galaxy were condensed to the 75 years of a human lifetime, then 9,000 years would be about half an hour. Have you ever been half an hour late for dinner? Imagine if, after toiling in your terraced plot with your stone hoe, or tracking elusive game through the scorching heat of ancient Eurasia, you return home to find your family ordering pizza off the internet. That's the scale of difference that SETI faces every time it turns its telescopes to the sky. That any civilization we manage to detect will be more advanced than our own is not just wishful thinking. SETI is not simply about detecting intelligence, but radio signals. And while we may be 9,000 years from stone tools, we're barely 120 years from the invention of radio. If 9,000 years is half an hour, then 120 years is just 24 seconds. If a civilization got off the block just 25 cosmic seconds after us, then our chances of contacting them are 0. Since the chances of us locating another civilization in the same 24-second window as us are minute, it follows that contactable civilizations will be hundreds, if not thousands, of years beyond us. In fact, the potential range is far greater even than that. The triple star system Alpha Centauri, the closest star system to our own, is believed to be slightly older than the Sun. Slightly, in this case, meaning by up to 2.5 billion years. Tau Ceti, our closest solitary sun-like star, is believed to be 1 billion years older than the Sun, while Barnard's star, a red dwarf 6 light-years away, is believed to be about twice as old. On timescales such as these, the margins of error encompass geological epochs. What then of the time between us and the Tanese? With the aid of improving technology, SETI has slowly begun to move beyond its founding preconceptions, such as supposedly friendly water holes, and now routinely searches millions or billions of frequencies. It has even managed to shift into frequencies rarely if ever used by humans for communication, such as optical. But all of these presuppose that extraterrestrial technology will be within our current understanding, that it will be of a sort we could recognize, or even see as artificial. We are, in our own way, painting our extraterrestrial neighbors to look like ourselves, much as the Tanese painted us to look like them. That is not to say that there have not been some admirably objective attempts to illuminate the faces of such cultures. And we will be looking at some of those attempts in the next episode.